Meanwhile, the Minister of Water and Sanitation, Senzo Mchunu, will be visiting Giyani tomorrow following protests over water shortages. For more on this, we're now joined via Zoom by the spokesperson at the Department of Water and Sanitation, Sputnik Ratau. Thanks so much indeed for joining us, and welcome to the program.
Good evening, Peter, and thank you so much for the opportunity, and good evening to the viewers.
All right. I suppose when people protest and that you see social unrest, people have become pretty desperate.
Yes, it is true, Peter, but also there are times when, the kind of work that is being done may not be very obvious. And that then it would simply imply in the eyes of those that are not really seeing that immediately to be as if there is nothing that is happening. And yet there is a lot of work that is happening. We just need to probably engage more, of which in a lot of times there is a lot of engagement that happens. But at other times there are other issues that come in that may not even have to be part of the issues that are creating the chaos that then ensues.
Tell us about the work that's being done, and could it have been better planned so that you don't get to a point where there's no water, or is it we were always going to get to this point?
Well, as a country, Peter, if you look at it, we were always going to get to this point. Remember that even though we might be getting, transboundary transfers, even though we may be getting our normal rainfall, a number of other issues have come in. Our population has grown quite a lot in the last few years. We know that we continue to be industrializing. We've seen a lot of in-migration. We've seen a lot of urbanization, and we continue to be impacted, obviously, by issues of climate change and so on. And therefore, there are a lot of things that are coming in. Planning. We do a lot of planning. We plan for the long term, in essence, especially where bulk is concerned. But you must remember that as well, while that might be true, that may be correct, and there is sufficient bulk, as we see now that in the main, we still have quite a healthy amount of water in our national dams. But when we look at how then we reticulate, that becomes where the question comes in. At times, it is about the fact that, infrastructure has not yet been developed. When you look at those areas that have got very difficult topography, those areas that have been in the main unserved for a very long time, as well as into the new dispensation. And therefore, those are the kind of things that we have to look at and obviously continue to plug into in order to be able to make sure that we are able to deliver this service.
Mr. Ratau, the population growth has been quite steady and fairly predictable in terms of where we know we'll be this time next year, the year after. Stats SA keeps amazing statistics. So is it that we just couldn't keep up with the pace of population growth?
Population growth has been, I don't know about steady, but it has been growing very, very quickly. When you look at the fact that in previous years, for instance, as an example, just between two provinces in the country, KwaZulu-Natal used to have the biggest population for a very long time. So, Gauteng has surpassed not just KwaZulu-Natal, but all other provinces. And yet it is the smallest province when you look at it. So in terms of that as an example, then you would realize that the kind of demand that has come onto whether it be just the infrastructure or even the source itself in the province of Gauteng would have been so greatly, would have grown so greatly in the shortest period of time that even with your best planning, you may not have easily been able to keep up. When you look at the kind of issues that also impact on it, the mushrooming of informal settlements, and all of those things, there's a huge amount of other inputs that have put pressure on the demand, or rather has raised the demand and thus put pressure not just on the infrastructure, but as well as on the resource itself.
So what is the department doing to manage what is, and can only be described as a serious situation?
Yes, it is a serious situation. We continue to do, the planning that is required. Remember that even on a provincial basis, we even up to local level, we look at scenarios that would give us an indication of what is coming going forward. We look at, for instance, the weather patterns have got a huge impact on the work that we do, because we have to monitor the rainfall, we have to monitor the behavior of the catchments, for instance, because it's not ultimately what goes into the Val Dam, but also what happens in the catchments that feed into the rivers, that then feed into the systems, or even into the systems particularly, or the catchment management areas. So all of those things have got to be taken into consideration. By the way, also looking at the fact that we also feed into the work that Stats SA does, because we have to also indicate that in terms of all the other factors that they look at, what is the input of the department in terms of looking at servicing the kind of growth that we see, that we're servicing the kind of demand that we see based on other activities that have got an impact on water availability.
Do you have a timeline where you think that you'll be at a position where nobody is going to open a tap and there's no water coming out?
It is the ideal situation we are looking at, and you remember that as based on the indications of the National Development Plan, and looking also at the influence of the Agenda 2063 of the African Union, that is where we are looking at. Our target would still remain 2030, where we would be able to have serviced all South Africans. What has happened is that beyond the fact that, in terms of development of infrastructure to areas that were initially non-served even, we have been able to provide that. But the critical issue is not just to be able to say there is a pipeline, there is a reservoir and so on. The major issue that we have to look at is the sustainability of that resource within that infrastructure even. Because even if we have infrastructure, but we are not able to ensure that that infrastructure performs optimally in order to be able to safely deliver the resource that we are supposed to serve, then we would still be shooting ourselves in the foot.
All right, Mr. Ratau, we're going to have to leave it there, but thank you very much indeed for giving us some insights in the work that you're doing, and hopefully the public might give you a bit of time and leeway. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
All right, that's the spokesperson of Department of Water and Sanitation, Sputnik Ratau, saying that the department is working overtime. Perhaps some of their efforts not immediately visible, but they are working to address some of the unpredictable nature of the problems that they're facing.